if you're an organization, if you're a security leader, if you're a business leader, what's the process that you should think through to plan to be attacked? And as we discussed this before our show, the place to start is really, what framework are you using? So depending on the business you're in, depending on the regulations you have, there are different frameworks or different models that you might want to use as guidance.
Exactly. There's and it's I have a lot of companies I've talked to over the years and advice, and their response to me is, we're not regulated. There's no government or industry regulating body that is regulating us, so we don't need any of these crazy controls from NIST, CIS, you pick it. That is the furthest thing from the truth, because if you don't have a framework to build your security practice around, you don't have a foundation for which to assess risk. So if you don't have a foundation from which to assess risk, you don't know what risk you have. If you don't know what risk you have, you can't make the decision as an executive team to close those gaps and address that risk, or accept it. And accept it might mean, I know there's a chance this thing will get compromised, get broken, get whatever, but I accept that risk because the cost to fix it is more than the impact it creates. So you can't make those business decisions unless you understand what the risk is to begin with. You can't understand what the risk is without the risk assessment. You can't do the risk assessment unless you're assessing it against something. Hence come in the control sets. So a popular one for mid to large enterprise is the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, or shortened to CSF. CSF is a great framework. You don't have to use all the parts of CSF. NIST has just revived it and released 2.0 of the NIST CSF framework. It is the foundation for which many risk assessors use to assess risk for a company when they come in. So if that's the control set you're using, it makes those processes faster. The other thing that small businesses typically go after is the CIS framework, which most commonly was known for its top 20, but that moniker has kind of have gone away. There's a smaller set of common standard controls that the Center for Internet Security, Information Security, put together for small companies to be able to say, I've got the basics covered. So regardless of whether you're large or small, if NIST CSF, which can be 200 controls, is too heavy, you can look at a smaller framework that fits your life, like CIS. But pick a framework, build your security practice around it, or your compliance. So when you hear, we've kind of gotten this. It's kind of become like brandized, kind of like Kleenex became the brand for. It's no longer became a brand; it became the definition of what toilet paper or tissue paper is. And GRC has become that for us in the industry. So GRC is not a tool, it's not a technology, it's a concept. It is another framework, and it stands for governance, risk, and compliance. So what governs you? What control set are you using? And it could be an industry control set, it could be a government control set. So examples are PCI or HIPAA or GDPR, or you name it. So whatever control set, or if you're public, SOX, Sarbanes-Oxley, but that control set is what governs you. Risk, the R in GRC, is assess your risk against that control set. What are my gaps? What happens if something goes wrong? And compliance is, let's do the things we need to close those gaps and comply with the governance. So GRC is a methodology. It's an approach to solving these gaps that we all have. And however, again, the market has confused us in saying that GRC is a tool. And if you just buy our tool, you have governance, risk, and compliance, which is the farthest thing from the truth, because you have to start with who's governing you, under what controls, what's the risks associated with not the fact that you don't meet those controls, and then how do you comply with those controls. And that could be 100% internal. It doesn't have to be government or industry-based regulation. You can decide, we're going to use CIS as our framework, and that's going to be our governance, our internal governance. Build a governance committee internally.